Good day and welcome to the Doctrine of Christ. My name is Pastor T.L. Emmanuel, and we're still talking about the coming collapse and the coming storm, and we're still sharing prophecies that the Lord has given for us to look into at this hour. I'm just going to quickly list 10 things that the Lord has said will happen in this season, just to recap. He said there's a collapse coming. That's number one. 2, there's a storm coming. He said there's a dictatorship coming. That's number 3. 4, there's intense persecution coming. 5, he says there's another lockdown coming. Then number 6, he says you'll suffer through the collapse. This is now related to the persecution. Number 7, he says there's a falling away coming. This is now in the church. And then he spoke about a COVID-19 mutation, which is what we're seeing currently with the Delta variant. Then number 9, he spoke about there's a corrupt vaccine coming, which is what we're seeing currently. And then he says there's global surveillance coming. That's the 10th thing. I'm going to break down each one, and possibly today we'll just handle one, and we'll talk about the COVID-19 mutation, because that's the catalyst of this collapse. And that's the thing that we need to focus on today. So I'm just going to share a vision that I saw and then explain what it means. On the 6th of August 2020, I had a vision, and this is what I saw. And of course, this is also shared on my Facebook page. I had a vision, and in this vision, I saw a black bat flying during the day. This bat suddenly changed and grew into a much larger bat. But instead of it being black, this time it became a grey bat. But a very large grey bat, almost like a pterodactyl, a very large winged flying dinosaur. The large grey bat flew into the distance and disappeared. So it was a small bat, black, in the middle of the day. And then it mutated, it became bigger, but grey. And then it flew away. The large grey bat flew into the distance and disappeared. And immediately from the east, very significant, from the east came a strange looking bee or hornet. I couldn't tell. It looked synthetic or man-made. As in, you could tell this is not natural. This is not a natural bee. This is not a natural hornet. It came close enough for me to see its features. It had a face that looked like that of a bat, but it was still a hornet or a bee. On its back, there were 3 matchsticks, very important. 3 matchsticks strapped on its back, on the back of the bee or the hornet, with what looked like duct tape. So it's something that it looked like someone actually did it themselves. As a result, the bee or hornet looked warrior-like, as if carrying a quiver of arrows. The duct tape with the 3 matchsticks looked like an amateur job. It looked like it was done in a hurry. The bee or hornet flew some distance away from me. After seeing it up close like that, it flew some distance away, and it just lingered and it hovered there for a while, and then the vision ended. So I'm going to explain exactly what that means. And I believe this is now the current strain of COVID-19 that we're dealing with, the Delta variant. The black bat that I saw represents COVID-19. According to the World Health Organization, COVID-19 was transmitted from bats to some other unknown animal, which in turn infected humans. So the bat then speaks of the virus. Even though some bats are black, a black bat in this instance represents something sinister and evil because of its color. COVID-19 is a virus, but it was manipulated by evil for it to cause the devastation that it caused. The reason the black bat was flying during the day proves that it was manipulated, because bats are nocturnal, and as night creatures they sleep during the day and come out at night. So this is some type of manipulation. COVID-19 was not meant to have come at the time it came. It was not its time. And I believe that with all my heart. The plan of evil to kill and destroy at this time was premature. Even though God knew it would happen at this time and warned us about it, it nevertheless was not intended to have arrived at this time. This virus was intended to bring about a collapse. So when we see this bat fly during the day, it's flying at a time it shouldn't be flying, because bats fly at night. So I believe this virus came at the wrong time, and it's something that's manipulated. This virus was intended to bring about a collapse that would necessitate the manifestation of the one world government. I believe that. The one world religion and the one world economy. Afterwards, the Antichrist was meant to be manifested, but it's simply too early. God will not permit any of that to occur just yet. He allowed the virus to be released, but kept it under control for its own purposes. The reason the black bat became gray and grew to be very large is because COVID-19 started small but grew and became a big killer, a giant killer. Gray is the color of death. The bee or hornet that came out of the east is another deadly virus. Just as COVID-19 came from China in the east, the next virus will also come from the east, and indeed it has. So now we're seeing this Delta variant. We've been told that it's something that came out of India, which is in Asia, which is in the east. Just when the large grey bat disappeared in the distance, this hornet or bee then emerged. The bee or hornet looked very strange. It looked synthetic or man-made. It was also carrying a quiver of matchsticks on its back, strapped on with duct tape. That means this virus we're dealing with is man-made. It's man-made. It was developed, manufactured, released, and manipulated and controlled by humans in the East. It's man-made. The 3 matchsticks on the bees or hornet's back means that the virus will be weaponized. It's something that has been weaponized. It's a biological, chemical weapon of mass destruction. But also I believe that the reason the bee or hornet wasn't carrying 1 or 2 or 3 matchsticks, furthermore, the reason I believe the hornet or bee wasn't carrying 1 or 2 but 3 matchsticks is because this virus is now going to trigger a 3rd wave all over the world. But also the Delta variant, we've been told that it is tripled, or is a triple mutation of the virus. So the Lord foresaw this, and He told us about this last year already. The reason the hornet or bee had a bat-like face is because it's a mutation of the initial virus, which was characterized by a bat. So someone in the East is busy fiddling with this virus, and they're busy dealing with it. It's something that's man-made. It's something that's airborne. It's something from the East. It's a mutation of the previous variant, and it's a triple mutation because of the 3 matchsticks that we saw on the back of this hornet or bee. And then on the 22nd of May in 2020, I shared the following. This morning I had a vision. It was very short. It must have lasted about 3 seconds or so. I saw pale green microbes floating all around me. They were round with soft spikes, almost like soft tiny needles jutting out. They looked like dandelions whose soft exterior can just be blown about in the air. In my heart, I just knew that this was some kind of virus. I'm not a scientist, so I won't speculate much. However, it looks like the current COVID-19 coronavirus, but only softer and gentler, meaning it might be more airborne and therefore easier to contract. This is what I shared. This is now on the 22nd of May 2020, before this mutation. And then I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for another wave of COVID-19, a mutated version thereof. So we're going to see a mutation of the virus. So it's going to be the same virus but mutated, because this one looks like the previous one. However, the protein spikes are different on this virus. So therefore, it's the same thing but mutated. So the Lord spoke about that in 2020 already. And then on the 10th of June 2020, I shared the following. Last year I had a vision, and I believe it's time to share it. I saw the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, visiting sickly citizens in a rural area somewhere in the country. These citizens were suffering from a peculiar respiratory infection. So this word is from 2019. This is before the virus actually hit. So we saw COVID-19 before it came. The citizens were suffering from a peculiar respiratory infection, which caused them not only to have difficulty breathing, but the Lord showed me that this thing is concentrated around the lungs by showing large red boils or hives that were around their chests. So I believe this next pandemic, this next one, will be far more devastating than the first one, just as the Spirit of God has been warning us. He has told us there's a storm coming, there's a collapse coming. And I believe June is now that cutoff point. And I believe, given the prophecies I've just shared, this is now what's about to follow. So this Delta strain is far deadlier because it's airborne, also easy to transmit and easy to contract. And it's likely to have very painful effects. And I believe that's why we saw the hornet with the stinger. We know it will come from the east. It will be a mutation of the first virus. And we know that it's likely to be 3 times deadlier. But we know that the 3 matchsticks represent the fact that it is triple mutated. And because we saw the bee linger, I believe that this pandemic will linger longer than most people can tolerate. It's going to linger. It's going to sit and linger. I've already shared prophetic words to this effect, talking about this virus. Suffice it to say, the current virus is real. It is real. It's not a hoax, as many will have you believe. However, it's man-made as per what the Lord has shown us. COVID-19 is a virus engineered by men and women with a very evil motive. The Lord has also shown us that it will mutate, and the coming strain will be far deadlier than the first one, which is what we see now. And I believe it's going to lead to far more casualties than the strains that we saw before. The purpose of this virus, I believe, is to introduce what the globalists call the Great Reset. The Great Reset, as per what Klaus Schwab has been saying, which will usher in the one world government and the one world economy. So I believe that is how the virus works. It's man-made, it's something sinister, it's something very evil, and I believe this thing the globalists are using to trigger what they want to come next. In the next video, we'll talk about the lockdowns, how the lockdowns are going to work globally and why they're there. Thank you very much, and God bless you.